Bomber Crew tips. These are tips for the video game Bomber Crew. The tutorial teaches very little about the game. You learn how to play the game by losing repeatedly, even on the easy levels. So the tutorial just gives you the very, very basics about being up in the air. But everything you learn is going to be because you didn't understand something and you lost, and then you have to figure out what did you do wrong, and that's how you learn. It's not easy. Pay attention to each position. Make sure all gun turrets are manned. Because of the way the game plays, you can't really pause the game. So you have to think very quickly, and things are going to happen. You're going to click on the wrong guy, thinking you're clicking on somebody else, and then you're going to move a guy away from his gun position, and you're going to have unmanned gun turrets when you need them desperately. And because they walk so slow, it will take a long time to correct the problem. Pay attention to where repair kits and medical kits are and learn how to use them. So you have to place the repair kits and the medical kits. And you have to know, obviously, how to use them. For the medical kit, you would click on the medical kit, then you'd click on the person you need to heal. And a repair kit, you have to click on the part of the plane that you have to repair. But it's not easy. Often I clicked on the wrong thing, and the mouse was perfectly over what I wanted it to be, but for some reason it would click on something else, and the guy would go and be in the wrong place, and the medical kits, I'd click on the wrong person, and it takes a little bit of work to get it going. In the briefing room on the campaign map, the green target is an easy risk, blue is medium, and I'm guessing that red is hard. Use a tail gunner to get the medical kit or fire extinguisher if you need to do so in a hurry. I don't remember the reason why I did that. Every plane is different. Or actually, I think there's only 2 planes in the base version. And the medical kit defaults, you put it near the tail gunner. And he often has the least amount of work to do. So he was the one who I had prepared to operate that equipment. Put the mechanic in a gun turret at the start of the game. This is very important. When the game starts, look for your mechanic and put him in a gun turret. When the mechanic is fixing something, there is a blue progress indicator. Remember to lower the landing gear before you land. It's possible to crash land on the runway. You can install additional equipment racks by going to the aircraft menu while at the base. Keep in mind, if your plane crashes, you lose everything. You can upgrade the fuselage of your plane to improve its armor, among other things. And if you crash, you lose everything. You lose all your upgrades. Don't spend money on anything extra, because when you are learning to play, you will lose crew and planes, which includes anything extra you pay for. So if you take your crew and you spend your money to get him a nice jacket, and that crew member doesn't survive the ride back, which happens often, you're going to lose the money that you paid for. And it probably didn't help very much. So save your money as much as you can at the beginning of the game. Remember to read the briefing before you select it so you know what is expected of you on the mission. The game is not going to tell you. You have to kind of know. You can fly off in the wrong direction, and the game takes too long. And if you fly off in the wrong direction for too long, you're probably not going to complete the mission. You can abort a bombing mission by dropping all your bombs. Secondary missions bring in extra money. Make sure you attempt them. If you want to spend money, prioritize upgrading the plane before upgrading crew members, as the plane is more likely to survive. So crew members die all the time. So don't put money into upgrading your crew members. You're going to say, well, I'm going to buy the best protection for my crew members, and then they all die. When you do a difficult task, you're going to get a lot of damage. So prioritize upgrading the plane. My advice is you prioritize the armor. Some recruits have high values such as 12 for survival or 6 for armor. So if you're patient, you can start out with better recruits. The radar sweep only shows targets in the light green cone and they disappear quickly. So the radar sweep is okay, but it's not a magic ingredient for winning the game. You're gonna have a little bit of a learning curve. You really got to keep your eye on the radar sweep. And if you see a target in the radar sweep, you're going to go over it almost immediately. So if you see something in the radar sweep and you wait too long, you might miss your target. Be careful when selecting crew at the front of the plane. If you accidentally select the pilot, the plane will crash. So there were cases where I needed to do something, maybe use a fire extinguisher or repair kit, and I accidentally picked the pilot, thinking that I picked maybe the front turret or the bomber, and I accidentally picked the pilot, and then he's not flying the plane anymore. So then the plane will crash if you don't have someone flying the plane. So you got to be careful. When people heal at the medical chair, they automatically return to their station. So that's an easy thing to do, is to have them return automatically. If a gunner runs out of ammo, have him go get his own ammo unless you have an emergency with a faster way to deliver the ammo. So obviously, running out of ammo is an issue you have to deal with. And it can happen, and you got to be aware of it. You don't want to run out of ammo when you're in battle. You want to make sure you can respond quickly and that you know how to do it. You have to learn how to rearm. So if you see a guy who's low on ammo, practice resupplying the ammo. You can speed up the game when you are ready to land and at other parts of your journey by pressing the icon for fast forward. Planes have a weight limit depending on the type of engines you use. Check your gun turrets from the aircraft menu, since you might be able to add more turrets so more crew members can fire guns. Obviously, having more turrets is a huge advantage in the game. An orange dot in the training link means one or more of your crew can be trained with a new skill. Watch the radar if you are lining up to do a bombing run or photography. It can show if you are ready to release or if you miss a target. Watch the direction of incoming or outgoing fire to determine where to find targets to mark. So if you see incoming fire and you can tell which direction it's coming from, you know where the plane is. And if you see outgoing fire, you know the plane's in that direction. So if you want to mark a target, you have an idea at least where to find the plane. When you see the base, lower the landing gear and check that your bomb bay doors are closed. When you finish bombing all targets, close the bomb bay doors. Check to make sure you have a free rack area and try to add a 2 rack slot before upgrading an existing 1 rack slot. You can add first aid kits and fire extinguishers by buying more equipment racks. If the plane crashes, you will retain some or all of your upgrades. If you have no money for flight suits, you can still fly. It is possible you will use items on the rack and it will be replenished with a different item you do not want. So that's one of the things I didn't like about the game, where you might use an item and then when you take off again, it has a different item on it. And I don't remember what caused that, but it's not fun. Put the fire extinguisher near the engines. So if you have many racks, put one close to the engines, which will have the fire extinguisher. If you fail a mission, you might not earn any money. Enemy planes chase you, so you will take lots of damage in the rear. Have good armor and guns in the rear. Your plane can dive to put out a fire. Oxygen is only needed at high altitude. Use oxygen masks for high altitude flights. Descend to a lower altitude if you need to fix your oxygen. You got an oxygen problem, you have to descend. If a fuel tank is damaged and there is an indicator that it is leaking, transfer the fuel to the other tank immediately. I seem to recall that it was very confusing, and it took me a long time to understand the fuel leaking indicator. Your plane can get hit by lightning. If you see ground fire while on a bombing run, you might be near the target. I believe it means if they're firing at you. Avoid ground fire by flying to a higher altitude. You have to do critical missions to advance through the campaigns. So you can do a lot of campaigns without advancing. You got to do the critical mission to do your advancement. Because of the way the point system works, you will upgrade guns, armor, etc. in order based on their point value. So you're probably going to start with the lower point value upgrades. You can get a refund if you downgrade your configuration. This is really important to know. If you need money, you can do a downgrade. If your gunner's out of ammo, consider moving him to an empty turret. Okay, so if your gunner is out of ammo and you have an empty turret, that turret probably has ammo. So just switch him to the other turret while you figure out how to reload the ammo in his turret. Upgraded armor on the front fuselage will protect 3 or 4 crew members. So the way the fuselage works is that you can upgrade perhaps the rear or the front. If you do the front, it protects more people because there's more people in the front. So it's just one of those little tips that saves you, gives you better value for what you're doing. When recruiting, choose the recruits who have the largest number of applicants for the same position. It's going to give you the best selection of recruits. Because you have 4 engines, sometimes it's better to allow an engine to stay on fire so the crew member can do another task. One recon photo can bring in a lot of money, and they're easy to do. Try to get one engine that is heavily armored so you increase the chance of surviving if the other 3 fail. So that's one of the tricks you do. Get one engine with heavy armor. Don't worry about the other 3. It's more likely to survive if the other 3 fail. But under heavy fire, I'm telling you, I tried it and it was still difficult. When a person is healed at the medic table, he returns to his station automatically. You can enable crew skills during flight by clicking on the crew member and selecting the skill. The engineer has to manually turn on the fire extinguishing system for engines. It's not automatic. So if you have the fire extinguishing system, you have to turn it on when you need it. It doesn't detect the fire. If the front turret is not manned and the plane is already headed for a bombing run or photo recon, send the navigator to man the empty turret. If you crash your plane, you're given a new plane with a new name, and it will have different equipment, engines, and armor. So when you crash a plane, you restart, and I didn't realize it, but I thought, oh, maybe it gives me a different plane every run. If your plane survives, you're going to have the same plane again and again and again with the same name. If your plane doesn't survive, if it crashes, you get a new name, and it will be equipped differently, and you have to pay again for upgrades. Okay, so those are tips for bomber crew. If you want to see more tips, go to my bomber crew section in my forum, which is cheapbooks.cc, and it's got lots of games. There's probably 100 games here. And I am the owner of cheapbooks.com, which is a search engine for searching for books and textbooks. If you want to save money on textbooks, go to cheapbooks.com. If you have any questions or comments, please post below.